What atheists just found shocked the whole world. The recent discovery of an ancient village close to Bethsaida that dates back to the time of Jesus has allowed archaeologists and researchers to pinpoint the precise location where this miracle is thought to have occurred. The Pool of Siloam, which is thought to be the same pool where Jesus healed the blind man, is one of the site's most important discoveries. It is located in the southern portion of the city of David and within the area of the Jerusalem Walls National Park. Not much is known about the pool from the Old Testament, but it was one of the reasons Jerusalem survived an Assyrian attack against the city in 701 BCE. The New Testament provides more information about the site. According to the Gospel of John, it was beside the Pool of Siloam that Jesus restored the eyesight of a blind man by making clay with his spittle and spreading it on the man's eyes. The man was then ordered, "Go wash in the Pool of Siloam." So he went and washed and came back seeing. In the 5th century CE, a Byzantine church commemorating this miracle was built over what was then believed to be the pool. It was named Our Savior, the Illuminator, and the sick would come to bathe in the water in the hope that they would be cured. This church was destroyed in the Persian invasion of 614 CE, and the pool itself shrank in size. But the memory of the name of the pool was not forgotten. In the 19th century, an Arab village developed over what remained of biblical Jerusalem. It was named Silwan after the Pool of Siloam. In the late 19th century, the first archaeological digs were carried out in the city of David, or Siloam. Among others, the remains of the Byzantine church were rediscovered. In response, in 1896, the Muslims erected a mosque above the pool. In 2004, however, Israeli archaeologists Ronnie Reich and Eli Shukron discovered another water reservoir some 65 meters from the supposed Pool of Siloam. It was 70 meters long, with a wide flight of steps leading down into it. The small finds from the site dated this pool to the 1st century. It seems that this was the real Pool of Siloam in the time of Jesus, yet in the Byzantine period it was mistakenly identified at the wrong location. The wide steps were probably designed to enable Jewish pilgrims to purify themselves in the pool before entering the Temple Mount. Indeed, next to the pool, a wide step street was also recovered, leading towards the Temple Mount. What was the function of the Siloam pool during Jesus' time? Because the pool is fed by waters from the Gihon Spring, located in the Kidron Valley, the naturally flowing spring water would have qualified the pool for use as a mikveh for ritual bathing. However, it could have also been an important source of fresh water for the inhabitants of that part of the city. One scholar has even suggested that it was a Roman-style swimming pool. Whatever its original purpose, the Siloam pool, where Jesus healed the blind man, is an important Christian site, and its discovery represents a watershed moment in the field of biblical archaeology. Today, the city of David, referred to in the biblical text, is an archaeological site and national park that is a must-see for any visitor to Jerusalem. It lies along the spine of a narrow ridge just south of the Temple Mount, a short walk from the western wall through the Dung Gate. The site appears to have been permanently settled by Canaanites as early as the 3rd millennium BCE. The 3,800-year-old Spring Citadel is a Canaanite fortress built outside the eastern wall to protect the Gihon Spring, the city's main source of water. This is the largest known Canaanite fortress in Israel, with walls 23 feet thick surrounding the spring. It is believed to be the fortress of Zion, taken by David to conquer the city in 1004 BCE. It was only discovered in 1995 and opened to the public in 2014 after 17 years of excavation. King David made the city his capital and proceeded to unite the people of Israel for the first time. David's son, King Solomon, extended the city to include the Temple Mount and build the first temple there. Begin the tour of the City of David at the Visitor Center, where you can view a 16-minute 3D film showing the city as it looked in its prime. Then, if you're not claustrophobic, explore the tunnels of the city. There's the Canaanite Tunnel, which most archaeologists date to the 18th century BCE, around the same time the Spring Fortress and other fortifications were built. Warren Shaft, discovered in the 19th century by Sir Charles Warren, is a 40-foot vertical piece of the Canaanite water system that may have been used by David's army to enter the city. Hezekiah's Tunnel, also known as the Tunnel of Siloam or Shiloh, is a later addition built in the early 8th century BCE on the orders of King Hezekiah. Its purpose was to join the Gihon Spring in the city, so it would have an internal water source during the Assyrian siege. Water still runs through this tunnel today, about 2 feet deep. If you don't mind waiting, it's a fascinating walk. So sophisticated were their calculations, diggers started on either end and met within millimeters of each other in the middle. You can still see in the tunnel where they mark the meeting point. The tunnel connects the Gihon Spring, which lies outside the city walls, to the Siloam Pool outside the walls. In the winter, we usually bypass this tunnel because the water is quite cold and can be too deep. Yet another tunnel, newly opened, the Pilgrim's Tunnel, leads from the City of David to the Davidson Center, which is just south of the Western Wall Plaza. This tunnel was dug during the Herodian period in the 1st century BCE as a drainage channel to capture water flowing off the surrounding mountains. Water was directed away from the Grand Herodian Road, which formed the ceiling of the tunnel, and into the Siloam Pool. Pilgrims from all over Israel would stop at the pool to cleanse themselves before walking the Herodian Road up to the temple, by now the Second Temple. The Herodian Road is under excavation, but visitors today can walk the same route underground through the tunnel. The City of David is not a large area, but touring the site involves quite a lot of stairs up and down, and tunnels require some ducking in places. The tunnel was made as one of the oldest systems to bring fresh water to the entire city. This system of bringing water to places located further from a river was also known in ancient Egypt. In circa 1800 BC, a Canaanite tunnel collected spring water which was used by the people during the dry periods of the year. In the Bible, King Hezekiah was said to have been afraid that Assyrians would block the city with a siege and that his people would die from a lack of water. Thus, he decided to create a system of tunnels that would allow them to bring in and accumulate water inside the city. The tunnel connects the Gihon Spring with the Pool of Siloam. The Gihon Spring was also known as the Fountain of the Virgin, and for centuries it was the main source of water in Jerusalem. It rises in a cave near the Kidron Valley and has acted as a source of drinking water. The spring has also been used to water gardens. The Pool of Siloam is a rock-cut pool cut that is located in the southern part of the old site of Jerusalem. Over the centuries, it received water carried by 2 aqueducts and provided a water source to the city's inhabitants. The tunnel wasn't forgotten over the years, and it was used by local people for a long time. It is unknown when the tunnel stopped bringing water to the city. Excavations in the City of David started long before archaeology was created as a formal science. The tunnel's described for the first time in modern texts in 1625 when the Italian writer and Orientalist Franciscus Quirissimus visited the city. In the 19th century, the tunnel was explored by the famous American biblical researcher Edward Robinson. In 1865, British officer General Charles Warren also explored the tunnel. However, neither of them was able to detail the place very well. General Warren believed that it was related to the story of the Pool of Siloam, which was perhaps dug by the order of King Hezekiah. In 1884, the Siloam inscription was discovered and finally opened the doors to a more thorough analysis of the structure. The pool was part of a temple construction during the Second Temple period. It is known that there were upper and lower pools of Siloam, so the construction was even larger in the past. The pool which exists today is located near the reconstructed pool from the Byzantine period. Before excavations, this pool was believed to be the legendary Pool of Siloam. The original pool was trapezoid and had 3 or 5 steps. On the site, archaeologists discovered coins from the period of the First Jewish-Roman War, which took place between 65 and 70 AD, suggesting that the pool worked for at least 8 centuries. The inscription has been dated to circa 701 BC and was carved in a stone which is 1.32 meters wide and 0.21 meters tall. Researchers still argue about the dating of the tunnel. Ronnie Reich and Eli Shukron from Israel suggest that the construction may be older than commonly believed. According to their research presented in 2011, the tunnel could have been created in the 9th century or early 8th century BC. Moreover, they believe that the starting point of Hezekiah's tunnel was a tunnel which is connected to the round chamber of the rock-cut pool. They explored the underground construction to confirm that the tunnel really comes from the times of the biblical king. The excavation site will be added to Pilgrim's Road or Pilgrimage Road, which was the first uncovered in 2019 in the City of David, the earliest Jewish settlement in Jerusalem. The ancient walkway ascends from the Pool of Siloam near the southern edge of the City of David up to the western wall near the top of the Temple Mount. Political challenges are involved because much of this territory is within the current borders of the Palestinian village of Silwan, a hilltop enclave with a population of 40,000 people. The Pilgrim's Road was taken by millions of Jewish people and other visitors on their way to the temple in the 1st century AD. Most of these pilgrims came in obedience to the command to gather for the worship of Israel's God at the central religious center during the 3 high holidays of the Jewish year: Passover in the spring, Shavuot, or the Feast of Weeks or First Fruits, or Pentecost 50 days later, and Sukkot, the Festival of Booths or Feast of Tabernacles, in the fall. During the 3 pilgrimage festivals, every able Jewish male was required to make the trek to the temple where sacrifices were offered. The impressive broad roadway with large 25-foot wide stone paving slabs was the main route leading from the Pool of Siloam, where worshippers would ritually wash before going up the 700-yard climb to the temple. The first excavations of the road began at the pool, and as the dig continued uphill, workers were forced to burrow underground beneath the busy Siloam neighborhood above to reveal the buried stairway. Archaeologists had to be creative in this difficult situation, which required sheer support beams to be installed every few feet to reinforce the ceiling above, as workers dug horizontally in a tunnel-like fashion beneath the modern streets and houses. The discovery of the pilgrimage road was an unprecedented scientific feat of biblical proportions. Unlike most archaeological digs, which begin from the ground down, this excavation was done subterraneously. Beneath the hustle and bustle of modern Jerusalem, wrote Doron Spielman, the vice president of the City of David Foundation, in an op-ed in the Times of Israel. Dozens of fiber optic cable cameras were used to decipher where to excavate, while maps and diagrams made by archaeologists over the last century and a half paved the way forward, Spielman added. When it comes to Israel, every reality inevitably becomes entangled in politics and religion, with the question of who controls the land as a fundamental issue. Both sides have a list of grievances. Israelis have long tied their claim to control of the Holy Land to their ancient historical connections there. At the focal point of Jerusalem, the pressure of these issues is amplified even more. Some Palestinians have a history of trying to erase any Jewish connection to ancient Jerusalem. In some circles, they have even denied that there was ever a Jewish temple atop the Temple Mount, an idea that would seem to be ridiculous in the face of all the historical and archaeological evidence, but an idea that has gained traction within the United Nations recently. With continued strife, all sides of the debate have seemed to grow farther apart. Many see the endeavor to unearth the Siloam Pool and Pilgrim's Road as part of the continuing effort to Judaize Jerusalem at the expense of the Palestinians. Archaeologists are also caught up on different sides of this debate. Part of the dispute involves claims that the tunneling has endangered lives and homes in the Muslim neighborhood above, and that the tunneling is straight into the Temple Mount itself, which is off limits. It was determined in court that there was no evidence to substantiate either of these charges. The archaeologists have been working under the constant supervision of engineers to ensure the safety of all involved. Today, both pools are popular tourist and pilgrimage destinations. It's also possible to walk from the pools through the drainage channel up the stepped street up to the Southern Wall Archaeological Park. 2,000 years of stepped street enabled Jewish pilgrims, after purifying at the Pool of Siloam, to complete their pilgrimage, enter the Temple Mount, and offer their animal sacrifice to the priest in front of the temple. According to an article published by Business Insider, the pool will be fully excavated and open to the public for the first time in modern history. Even though a small fraction of it has been accessible for several years, most of the pool was destroyed and covered after the First Jewish-Roman War in the year 70. A coming excavation will completely expose the ancient pool, allowing visitors to view it as part of a tourist route, explains the Insider. The Israeli Antiquities Authority, Israel National Parks Authority, and the City of David Foundation said in a statement provided to Insider. Let us know your views in the comment section, and for more such content, please do subscribe to our channel.